Hey gang, welcome to another episode of Wisdom Wednesday from here in beautiful Austin, Texas. Hi, I'm Mark Sweeney, owner of Austin Dental Spa. And if you tuned in last week, you know that every month we have a different theme, and the theme for the month of June is Press Pause Because. And why did we pick that theme? Well, it's almost halfway through the year of 2021. I can't believe we're nearly halfway into the month of June already, and by the end of June we'll be halfway through the year, and so it's a good time to press pause because press the pause button and step back and think, wow, where were we just a year ago? And boy, how much things have changed just since then. People are walking around with no masks on. What the heck? Anyway, things have changed, and it's time to reflect a little bit. And so we're taking the whole month each week and talking about things that you might press pause because. And this week is going to be fun because we're going to talk about sleep and some interesting health facts with that. But before that, since I brought up the virus, I saw a really interesting article on Monday that came out of University of Stanford, where they have spent the last year studying COVID patients and blood, because, you know, a year ago we still didn't know for sure the mode of transmission, whether somebody had to cough or sneeze on you, or if you could get it from kissing somebody, if you could get it from blood to blood contact, so they weren't letting people who had COVID give blood transfusions. And that's specifically what this study was about. They took several thousand people and took blood samples from them, people with no COVID, people who had COVID, had COVID, and people who actually currently actively had COVID. And they found in every sample there was not enough viral load in their blood to cause an infection in another person. So it definitely, unlike the AIDS virus, which that's its main mode of transmission, is in the bloodstream, you have almost zero chance of getting COVID from blood-to-blood contact with another human being. So the CDC has now mandated that people that have had COVID, or even if they have COVID right now and test positive, they can still give blood transfusions and donate blood without any worry about it. So I thought that was interesting. Unless you're getting or giving blood, it doesn't really matter to you, but it just shows that this is an airborne aerosol disease that's transmitted through the nasal passages, and so you don't have to worry about somebody's blood getting on you. Also, I got a little special news. For the last 3 years, the American Statesman has run this. This is the 4th year. Best of the Best. We've won. Last year we won Best Dentist and Best Cosmetic Dentist in Austin, Texas. All 3 years so far we've won Best Cosmetic Dentist, and we intend to do it again this year. They had the initial round, as you may know, about a month ago, and we just were notified today. We're in the top 5. They wouldn't tell me where in the top 5. They just said you're in the top 5 in both the general dentist and cosmetic dentist category again. So thank you out there who cast your votes. I appreciate your support, and we intend to win both categories again this year. So let's talk about press pause because and why that has anything to do with sleep. Well, this was an interesting study, and they did this study on 840,000 people. That's a pretty large sampling, so you got to pay attention to the results. And they studied night owls, people like me who tend to stay up past midnight most every night, and then they studied people who go to bed early and get up early risers. And then they studied a couple of permutations that I thought was interesting. They found that people who go to bed earlier and get up earlier, they tend to get more daylight in because they're up at the crack of dawn. You know those people. Most of us that are late night owls were married to people like that that irritated the heck out of us by getting up at 6 in the morning, no matter what time they had gone to bed. Well, they took a little twist on this, though. They found that not only are people who are early risers usually generally healthier, but they found that if you took people that were early risers, every hour that they went to bed earlier, so if they went to bed at midnight and you got them to go to bed consistently at 11, they had a 23% less chance of being depressed. And they did find a correlation between lack of sleep and depression, and which I think has been known for a while, but they reconfirmed that in this study, that people who are night owls, whether they're insomniacs and can't go to sleep or they just don't like to until late, it didn't really matter how long they slept. So they might sleep till 10 in the morning, but they missed several hours of daylight in the morning, so they still had a higher tendency to suffer from clinical depression. And the early risers, though, that got up at the crack of dawn, if they went to bed an hour earlier, they had a 20% less chance of depression symptoms, and for each hour it was another 20%. So if those people that went to bed at midnight started going to bed at 11, there was a 23% decrease in depression symptoms. If they went to bed at 10, there was a 40% decrease. So I guess there's a point at which there's a threshold that, you know, you can't say, oh, if they went to bed at 7 p.m. that they were 100% cured of depression. They didn't carry it that far. But I did think it was interesting that just those hours of sleep, going to bed earlier, it doesn't mean sleeping longer. So because you're missing some of the morning if you don't go to bed till 1 in the morning and you get up at 10 a.m. That doesn't count. They pretty much ruled that out in this study. So if you're having a little trouble with feeling good about things, try going to bed an hour earlier and try getting up at 6, 7 a.m. When the sun comes up, and you might notice a difference with no drugs involved, no invasive stuff, just changing your sleep patterns. So I thought that was interesting, and it fits in with our hit pause because you're kind of pausing and thinking about things that, hey, maybe if I just change my sleep patterns, it'll make a difference in my life. So this study seems to agree with that. So guess what my health tip for the day is? Get a little more sleep, go to bed an hour earlier, and get healthier as a result. Simple as that. Hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next week for another version of Wisdom Wednesday.